Welcome to this Business English Vocabulary Masterclass. In this masterclass, you'll expand your vocabulary with 200 business English expressions for fluent English in just 2 hours. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, in this masterclass, you'll learn 14 full phrases to speak like a leader. Number 1, feel free to ask me anything. Now notice you're learning a complete phrase, so pay attention to all the words. The prepositions, the articles, the sentence structure matters. So notice here we have feel free plus infinitive. The infinitive is of course to plus the base verb. Feel free to ask me anything. This is used as a polite, open-ended invitation. I'm inviting you to ask me whatever you'd like. Remember, you can change that verb. I could say, feel free to send me the report when it's ready. This sounds polite and professional. And remember, it's an open invitation. You're not required to do this. It's an option. If you say, send me the report when it's done, this is the imperative, and it's direct and also authoritative. So to sound polite and professional and to give you an open invitation, I can say, feel free to download the free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. And this is a real example because I summarize everything from this lesson in the free lesson PDF. Feel free to download it. Number 2, I look forward to hearing your thoughts. So your colleague could say to you, feel free to send me the report when it's done. And then when it's done, you can send it to your colleague and say, here you go. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Notice our sentence structure. Look forward to plus gerund, your verb in ing. I look forward to hearing. Don't make this mistake. Make sure you have the gerund. And this is a polite way to show your interest. So in this case, your interest in hearing the person's thoughts, their ideas, their opinions, their feedback. You could say, I look forward to meeting, our verb in ing. I look forward to meeting you tomorrow. Now with this structure, you can also use a noun. I look forward to our meeting. That's the noun form. I look forward to our meeting tomorrow. What about you? Are you looking forward to my next lesson? If you are, put yes, yes, yes to show your interest, show your enthusiasm, put yes, yes, yes in the comments. Number 3, here's my take on it. One's take on something is one's opinion on something. So my take on it is simply my opinion on it. For example, I just read the consultant's recommendations. Here's my take on them. Them because recommendations is plural. Now, when I want to share my opinion, my take, I can simply use an opinion word. I think she raised some valid points. Now I can use this as a question. What's your take on the report, on the recommendations? Number 4, from my perspective. Now, this is the same as in my opinion, but notice that preposition difference. From my perspective, in my opinion. So I see a lot of mistakes when students try to use this. If someone asks you your opinion, what's your take on it? You can use this to start. From my perspective, I think the consultant's recommendations aren't practical. So here you can add on I think, an opinion word, even though you use from my perspective, but it's optional. And after you share your opinion, you can invite the other person to provide their opinion. What about you? What's your perspective? Number 5, can you help me understand? This is a polite way to ask for clarification or an explanation. Your colleague could say, from my perspective, the consultant's recommendations aren't practical. You could comment on this and say, I see, interesting, oh really? And then you can add on this expression. Can you help me understand your perspective, your opinion. Can you help me understand? This is a great expression if you want an explanation without sounding very direct or authoritative or angry. If someone says, I don't think we can meet the deadline, you can say, can you help me understand why? Number 6, I'll get back to you with that information. This is a great one because someone might ask you a question or to provide information and you don't have that information. You don't know the answer. Instead of saying, I don't know, you can say, I'll get back to you with that information. You can provide a time reference if you like. I'll get back to you by the end of the day. So you just gave yourself a deadline. You could say, I'll get back to you in an hour, or I'll get back to you ASAP. What does ASAP mean? This is a very common acronym. Put it in the comments. ASAP, what's the acronym? Put it in the comments. Number 7, can you fill me in? This is a great one. It's a casual way to ask for an update or a summary. You could say to your colleague, I was on another call this morning. Can you fill me in on the staff meeting? Notice here, when I specify the something, the staff meeting, you have to use the additional preposition on. Can you fill me in on the staff meeting? This is often used by one person to request another person provide information to someone else. For example, your boss could say to you, hey Danica, can you fill Raphael in? And then if you want to specify the something, you need that preposition on the new filing system. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Number 8, which one would you like me to prioritize? You can use this to clarify which task should be done first, which one you should prioritize when there are multiple tasks. So you can use this with 2 tasks or more than 2 as well. So if you have multiple tasks, you can go to your boss and say, Sarah asked for help on the report and I have to finish the presentation. Which one would you like me to prioritize? So now instead of feeling overwhelmed, you know exactly which task to focus on, to prioritize. You can use this even just to get advice from someone you trust. I could say to you, from your perspective, which one should I prioritize? So you're not my boss, you're not responsible for assigning me tasks, but I trust you to provide me with valuable feedback. Which one should I prioritize from your perspective? Number 9, I trust you have everything you need. The word trust is used a lot in a business context. This is used to express overall confidence in someone and their abilities. So you might come to me and say, Jennifer, I feel a little nervous. This is my first time giving a presentation. And I can let you know that I have confidence in you and your abilities, and I can say, I trust you. Or I can add on to this and I can say, I trust you can handle this. So the statement is, you can handle this. Handle means you have the ability to do it. You can handle this. Now, if I add I trust, it's adding certainty. I'm certain. I know. I trust you can handle this. Number 10, what can we learn from this? Such a powerful question. You can use this to encourage reflection and analysis after a situation, generally a negative situation. So if something negative happened, I didn't get the promotion. You can say, what can I learn from this? Or, I failed my IELTS. What can I learn from this? So instead of being upset, angry, mad, now you're thinking about solutions. You're thinking about what you can do differently. This is a great expression to use when you're working with a team. So again, maybe something bad happened. We lost the client. What can we learn from this? And then you can start brainstorming things you can do differently so it doesn't happen again. Now, to change the sentence structure, you could also say, what can this teach us? So notice, you can learn something from someone or something, a situation, but also something, the situation, can teach you something. Number 11, I'm happy to address that. So notice the sentence structure. We have our verb to be, I am happy, our adjective. So you need to conjugate the verb to be. And then you have the infinitive. I'm happy to address that. And this is used to show a willingness to do something. So when your boss asks you to fill Raphael in, you can say, I'm happy to fill Raphael in. And then remember, if you specify the something, you need that extra preposition on the sales process. So you're showing your willingness to do this. This is also a great way to end a presentation or end communication. We're happy to answer any questions you have. So remember that structure, to be happy plus infinitive. Number 12, how can I support you? This is used to offer support, encouragement, assistance, but also to ask how that can be done. Your coworker could be upset and say, I'm so overwhelmed with this project. So you want to show your support. You can say, how can I support you? You can add on, how can I best support you as an intensifier? And then you can even add on your willingness and say, I'm happy to help you in any way I can. You can use this to offer assistance to someone as well. If you know your coworker is very busy, you could say, you have a lot on your plate with this presentation, which means you're very busy. How can I support you? Number 13, I value your input. This is to acknowledge the importance of someone's opinion or ideas. So let's use this right now. How can I make my lessons better? How can I make this lesson better? Or how can I make my lessons overall better? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I value your input. And this isn't just an example, it's 100% true. I really value your input. I truly value your input. So please, if there's anything I can do to improve these lessons for you, I want you to love these lessons. So please put your comments below because I truly value your input. Number 14, I appreciate your hard work on this. Everyone loves to be appreciated, so you can use this to show gratitude, appreciation for someone's work. You can start by complimenting someone. The report looks fantastic. And then add on, I appreciate your hard work on this. Adding that on will make that person feel really valued. Or maybe your friend is planning a party for you and you can say, the menu looks amazing. I appreciate all your hard work on this. You can add all your hard work to intensify it. Amazing job. Now to use your phrases to speak like a leader, you first need a job. So now you'll learn 12 great things to say in a job interview. The first great thing I want you to say in a job interview right at the beginning of the interview is, first, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. You should say this right at the beginning because expressing gratitude, I would like to thank you. Expressing gratitude makes a great first impression. You should also say this because expressing gratitude, it helps build rapport, which means build a positive relationship, build rapport with the interviewer. Now, you can say first. You could also say first off, firstly, or before we begin. And notice the grammar here. I would like plus infinitive to thank you plus for, and then you need a noun or a gerund. In my example, I used a noun. Thank you for this opportunity. You could also say, firstly, I would like to thank you for meeting with me. So notice here, meeting is the gerund. Now, I want you to think about how you can use these phrases outside of a job interview, maybe at a networking event, a meeting, or imagine if I began this lesson today by saying, before we begin this lesson, I would like to thank you for supporting my channel. Your support means so much to me. Now, let's start the lesson. Remember how I said that can help build rapport. You may feel a deeper connection to me because I expressed my gratitude and it was sincere. So think about how you can use these expressions in other situations. And if you agree that this is a great way to start an interview, a lesson, a presentation, put that's right in the comments. And don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Number 2, I have researched your company and I'm impressed. This shows your interest in the specific company. You're not just applying because it's a job, you're truly interested in the company. And also complimenting the company by saying, I'm impressed, that's a compliment, it's a positive comment. Complimenting the company, it also helps build rapport with the interviewer because who doesn't like being complimented? Just one note, you must personalize this based on the specific company. So let's say you're applying for a position in my company for this YouTube channel. You could say, I have researched the JForrest English YouTube channel and I'm impressed that you increased your subscriber count by 400% in 8 months. Now, grammatically notice to be impressed plus that, it's optional, and then a clause, a subject, a verb, and an object. I'm impressed that you increased your subscriber count. That's the clause, a subject, a verb, and an object. You could also say, I have researched the JForrest English YouTube channel and I'm impressed by the number of videos you've created. 1,200 videos is an accomplishment. Notice here, to be impressed by plus noun, by the number of videos. But then I went on to make it specific and I referenced the specific number of videos. Number 3, I'm excited to be considered for this role because it perfectly aligns with my passion for. This shows your interest in the specific role again. And also, hiring managers, they love people who are passionate about their work, who don't just see it as something to finish as quickly as possible, who truly enjoy doing the work. That's why this is a smart thing to say. Notice here, I'm excited to be considered for this role because it perfectly aligns with my passion for graphic design or maybe creating stunning graphics. Here, to perfectly align, this is another way of saying it's a perfect match. It's a perfect fit. In a job interview or in a more formal presentation or formal setting, it's best to use more advanced words or to add adjectives to basic words to make them sound stronger. And that's what you're doing here by saying it perfectly aligns. Now, notice here, my passion for, you can have a noun, my passion for graphic design, or you can have a gerund, a verb in ing. My passion for creating stunning graphics. And again, add an adjective like stunning to help make the language sound more advanced. Number 4, I have a proven track record. Do you know what a track record is? This is a record of past accomplishments, past successes. Grammatically, you would say I have a proven track record of plus gerund. For example, I have a proven track record of delivering financial reports on time. Or I have a proven track record of helping YouTube channels like mine increase their subscribers by 100% in 90 days. Again, always be as specific as possible with the results or outcomes you can achieve once hired. Number 5, this definitely describes you. I'm committed to continuously learning and improving my expertise. Grammatically, the structure is to be committed to plus a gerund verb, your verb in ing. This is a great thing to say because I'm committed. It's strong language that leaders use. So if you use this language, you sound like a leader. Now, continuously, this is an adverb, and this is important because it means now and in the future. One's expertise, this is a more advanced way of saying one's skills and qualifications. And this is a great thing to say because hiring managers love people who want to keep learning and improving. The fact that you're constantly improving your English language skills is a positive thing. Managers love people who love learning. Number 6, I value feedback as it helps me grow and improve. This is a smart thing to say because hiring managers love people who can take criticism. Feedback is a positive way of saying criticism. If I tell you you didn't do a good job, you can take that feedback, you can accept it and learn from it. And notice here grammatically, I value, you can use a noun, I value feedback, or you can use a gerund verb. I value receiving feedback as it helps me grow and improve. As is another way of saying because. Personally, I find it sounds more formal because is used in everyday speech, as isn't as commonly used, so it sounds more formal. And here, providing the reason, it makes it seem more believable. I value receiving feedback as I'm committed to continuous growth. So here, notice we're using to be committed to, and in this case, I used continuous, which is an adjective, now and in the future. Number 7, although I haven't had the opportunity to manage a team yet, I'm motivated and eager to develop my skills in this area. This is a longer sentence, but notice the different parts. First, we have although I haven't had the opportunity to do. You need an infinitive here. And then add the word yet because this is in the present perfect. Now, your infinitive to do could be to prepare financial reports, to create a database, to conduct market research, whatever fits the position you're hiring for. And add the word yet because it implies it's still possible for you to do the action because this is an unfinished timeline. The second part of this sentence is I'm motivated and eager to develop my skills in this area. You can be specific and say to develop my writing skills, research skills, or leadership skills. And this is smart because hiring managers love people who want to keep learning and improving, just like you. So put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Number 8, I'm confident I can add value to your company. Again, saying I'm confident, this is strong language that leaders use. The structure is to be confident plus clause. Remember, a clause is a subject, verb, and object. Now, be as specific as possible about the value you can provide. For example, I'm confident I can grow your YouTube channel by 100% in 90 days. If someone sent this to me as an email, I would want to meet with that person. Number 9, I strongly believe I am the best candidate for this position. Don't be shy in an interview to tell the person that they should hire you. But there's a way to do it that sounds very professional and confident. And by saying I strongly believe is the way to do that, because this is strong language that leaders use and the hiring manager will respect your confidence. This is great for the end of the interview after you've provided specific examples of how you can add value. If you use this more at the beginning of an interview, make sure you share actual examples of how you can accomplish this and how you can be the best candidate. Now let's imagine it's the end of the interview and it's your turn to ask the interviewer a question. You can say, number 10, what's the most important goal you would like me to achieve once I'm hired? This is a smart thing to say because once you know the answer, you can share how you're the right person to achieve it. And you can make sure that you're telling the interviewer the exact priority and how you have the skills and experience to achieve that. Now notice here, I said, once I'm hired. This assumes the job is mine. Grammatically, you can say if I'm hired, but if you say that, it sounds like there's a chance someone else will be hired. And you always want to speak as though the position is yours. Number 11, before we end, I would love to add one thing, if that's all right with you. This is smart because it gives you the opportunity to clarify, correct, or add important information. For example, if you really didn't like how you answered one of the questions, now is the time to provide more information on that specific question. And by phrasing it as a question, if that's all right with you, this is a sign of politeness and respect. And don't worry, the interviewer will say, absolutely, please go ahead. Now notice grammatically, I would love plus infinitive. We have to add, to clarify, to highlight. You can use other word choices. Make sure it's in the infinitive. And at the very end of the interview, you can say, number 12, thank you again for taking the time to meet with me. This ends the interview on a positive note. Thank you sounds more formal than thanks. Of course, you can say thanks, but thank you sounds more formal. Thank you again, because you already expressed thanks at the beginning. Thank you again for plus gerund. You could say thank you again for giving me the opportunity to interview for this position. Thank you again for considering me for this position. There are absolutely many different things you can say. Make sure you're following the correct grammatical structure. Now that you have the job, you know how to speak like a leader, let's keep going and you'll learn 42 business English expressions you can use every day. Let's talk about due diligence. Due diligence. diligence. Have you heard this before? Due diligence is the concept of doing very thorough research or investigation before making a decision. For example, before signing the contract, make sure you do your due diligence. And remember, due diligence, that's simply the research and investigation before signing the contract. So that's the decision you're about to make, the decision to sign the contract. Do your due diligence. Now, don't be confused here because the verb I just used is do. You do due diligence. Do is the casual verb. You can also use a more formal verb such as conduct due diligence. For example, before you accept the job offer, you should conduct extensive due diligence on the company. So you should research the company, you should investigate the company, and you should do that thoroughly to make sure you're making the right decision. So you can do due diligence or you can conduct due diligence. Now let's talk about a win-win situation. This is a situation in which all parties benefit. You win, I win, it's a win-win. For example, subscribing to this YouTube channel is a win-win situation. You win because you get to watch all of this amazing content to help you improve your English for free. And I win because by subscribing, that tells YouTube that this is a popular channel, a popular video, and YouTube will recommend it to more people. So it's a win-win situation. So make sure you subscribe, comment, like, share this video with your friends for that win-win situation. In a business context, you should also be asking yourself the question, how can I make this a win-win? You don't have to add the word situation. Native speakers will commonly drop it. How can I make this a win-win? If I ask my boss for a promotion, how can I make that a win-win? If you can make it a win-win and you can explain the reasons why your boss will win and you will win, well then they're more likely to give you the promotion. And if you think it's a win-win, then put that in the comments. Jennifer, it's a win-win. Subscribing to this YouTube channel is a win-win. Jennifer, it's a win-win. Put that in the comments. Let's talk about to break the ice. When you break the ice, you initiate a conversation and you do that for the first time. This is used in both social settings like a party or a business setting like before a meeting or a conference. And when you break the ice, it's so you can have that initial conversation and get rid of that awkwardness when you're at a party or a meeting and you don't really know everyone there. So that's why at the beginning of a meeting or a conference, they'll often have some activities planned simply to help you break the ice. Or your boss might say, make sure you break the ice before you pitch them the product. So you don't want to start the meeting by saying, this is my product, you should buy it. You want to have some conversation first. You want to break the ice. Our next expression is to close the deal. This is when you finalize and secure a business agreement. So it means everything is complete, it's a done deal. So your boss could ask you, did you close the deal? They want to know if they've signed the contract and they're officially a customer. But maybe you reply and say, not yet, they're still doing their due diligence. Remember, you do due diligence. And then you can question, how can we make this a win-win situation so they'll want to close the deal? Now let's talk about cutting edge. This is an adjective that's often used to describe products or entire companies. If something's cutting edge, it means it's at the forefront of technology and innovation. You might say, I love working for a cutting edge company, a company that's always at the forefront, the very top of technology and innovation. Or you could say the research team is known for developing cutting edge technology. So they develop technology, but it's cutting edge. It's at the forefront of innovation and technology. Our next expression is in the pipeline. When something is in the pipeline, it means it's being developed or planned. So you might ask a company or a team or even a person, do you have any projects in the pipeline? And you're asking them if they have anything that's currently being developed or planned. Are you working on anything new? Do you have anything in the pipeline? Or you might say, let's meet tomorrow to discuss how to finalize everything in the pipeline. Because remember, the things that are in the pipeline, they're in progress. They're currently being developed. They're not final yet. And when they are, hopefully they're cutting edge. I love this next expression, to hit the ground running. This is when you start a project or task with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. And I personally always hit the ground running with new projects and tasks. I also love when my students hit the ground running. For example, Sherry just joined the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium program. She just joined the Finally Fluent Academy and she hit the ground running. So she started the program with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. She already started reviewing the lessons. She joined our private community. She's submitting exercises for feedback. She's interacting with the other students. She hit the ground running. Now let's talk about the idiom to put all your eggs in one basket. Have you heard this before? This is when you rely on only one strategy or one idea. So if your eggs are in one basket and you drop that basket, all your eggs will break, right? Because of that, we commonly use this expression in the negative. You shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. So if a friend tells you they want to invest all their money, not just some of their money, all their money in one single stock or investment strategy, you might say you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. Or you could say, it's always good to have multiple projects in the pipeline so you don't have all your eggs in one basket. Because if one of those ideas in the pipeline fails, you have other ideas. So that's always a great idea. Let's talk about to be a team player. This describes someone who works well with others in a group. What about you? Are you a team player? Put it in the comments if you are. I know many people have difficulty with this. They have difficulty working with others in a group. So be honest, are you a team player? I could say, I love working with Julio. He's such a team player. Or I could say, Michelle's extremely smart and well qualified, but she's not a team player. So I don't think she's ready for a management position. Because if you're in a management position, you need to be a team player. So don't forget this very valuable skill. Let's talk about to raise the bar. When you raise the bar, you take your standards or your expectations and you raise them. So you have higher standards, higher expectations. I could say that Apple raised the bar on what a cell phone can do. Before Apple, our expectations for cell phones was about here. Now our standards and expectations are up here. And that's because of Apple, in my opinion. Or you could say their products are cutting edge. They've really raised the bar when it comes to home security equipment. So they've raised the expectation or standards, but specific to home security equipment. So are you ready for your quiz to see how well you know these business expressions? Here are the questions. Hit pause, take as much time as you need, and when you're ready to see the answers, hit play. How did you do on that quiz? Well, let's find out. Here are the answers. Hit pause, take as much time as you need to review them, and when you're ready to continue, hit play. Amazing job. Let's keep expanding your vocabulary. Let's review another group of 10 business English expressions, and then again, I'm going to quiz you, so pay close attention. The expression to get down to business means that you start focusing on the main topic or the main task. Now, when you learn expressions, you need to pay attention to the individual words. So here we have get down to business. You need to make sure that you use the correct words and you conjugate your verb, in this case, get. So let's talk about how you would use this expression at work. Well, when you're having a business meeting, it's very common to start with some small talk. Small talk is conversation about the weather, what you did last night, the weekend, current events. It's not about the main topic. So maybe you have some small talk for 5 minutes, and then whoever's leading the meeting can say, all right, everyone, let's get down to business. Today we're going to, and then you will start discussing the main purpose of that meeting or the main topic of that meeting. This is a must-know expression because you can hear it and use it at almost every business meeting you go to. Our next expression is to touch base. When you touch base with someone, it means you briefly connect or communicate with someone. And you do that to share or receive updates or to schedule a longer conversation or meeting. For example, have you touched base with the client yet? So notice our verb is touch. So of course you need to conjugate that verb. What's the verb tense in this example? Have you touched base with the client yet? It's the present perfect in question form. So you have to conjugate that verb. Now, if someone asks you that, have you touched base with the client yet, with someone? They're asking if you have connected with that client or if you've had a conversation, even if it was only a 2-minute conversation with that person. Now, an important note is that native speakers love turning verbs into nouns. And we do that with this verb, to touch base. We turn it into a noun, and I could say, let's have a quick touch base tomorrow to discuss the conference. Notice here it's a touch base, a quick touch base. A touch base is a quick meeting or a quick conversation with someone. So you can use this as a verb, to touch base, or as a noun to sound more like a native speaker, a touch base. Now let's talk about the idiom to be on the same page as someone. This is an idiom that means you have a shared agreement or understanding about something. So if you're on the same page as someone, it means you both agree or you both disagree, but your understanding is the same, whether that's positive or negative. This is very commonly used in business meetings where you might be discussing a plan of action or a proposal or an idea, and then someone says, Are we on the same page? And that person is asking if everyone agrees that you should do something or shouldn't do something or should buy something or shouldn't buy something. It simply means that everyone agrees. So maybe at the conference, someone suggested that you should cancel the conference. And this person explained why. And then later, this person could say, thankfully, we were on the same page about canceling the conference. So this person suggested canceling the conference and everyone agreed. So everyone was on the same page. Notice the verb is the verb to be. So you need to conjugate that verb. Now let's talk about to brainstorm. Do you know this one? To brainstorm. This is the concept of generating creative ideas through group discussion. I personally love brainstorming. I love the creativity of just sharing ideas, trying to solve problems, trying to think of something new with other people. Now, this is another verb that native speakers love using as a noun, a brainstorming session. Notice how you have to add session. It wouldn't sound right to say a brainstorm session. That's acceptable, but it's more common to say a brainstorming session. So to add ing to brainstorm, a brainstorming session. With the verb, you could say, we brainstormed a lot of great ideas yesterday. So as the verb, it's in the past simple, ed, we brainstormed. Or you could say, we had a very productive brainstorming session. So here the verb is have, to have a brainstorming session. So you conjugate the verb. We had a very productive brainstorming session. Our next expression is to think outside the box. Have you heard this one? When you think outside the box, it means that you think creatively and you also consider unconventional ideas. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will do something unconventional, but you'll consider it. And brainstorming sessions can be a lot more fun when you think outside the box. So let's say you have an ambitious goal, like doubling your sales. You might be at a brainstorming session and someone could say, if we're going to double our sales, we need to think outside the box. So you need to think creatively and consider unconventional ways to double your sales. And thankfully, a lot of students are thinking outside the box when it comes to ways to improve their English. The more traditional way was to study a textbook, memorize grammar rules, memorize vocabulary lists, and study this textbook for hours. But now you can have a more unconventional approach. You can think outside the box and do things like watch a YouTube video or study a native speaker on TV or in movies and use that to improve your listening skills and add expressions to your speech so you sound exactly like the native speaker. And actually, that's exactly what my students do in the Finally Fluent Academy. And I really thought outside the box when I designed this program because I know that traditional language programs don't get results and they take a very long time to get any results. So that's why it's very important to think outside the box. Let's talk about the bottom line. This is the most important result or outcome or topic. For example, the report had 33 recommendations, but the bottom line is we need to reduce our operating costs. So the bottom line, that's the most important topic or recommendation. We need to reduce our operating costs. So let's say you're very busy, but one of your colleagues or employees comes to you and says, do you want to hear about the meeting yesterday? And you could say, just give me the bottom line. So you're asking that employee to just give you the main result, the main outcome, or the main topic. Our next expression is a great one, to call it a day, to call it a day. And this is used to say that you decide to finish work for the day. So let's say you're scheduled to finish work at 5:00 p.m. That's the scheduled end of your work day. And let's say today you have a brainstorming session scheduled from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So an all-day brainstorming session. Now around 3:30 p.m., maybe your boss could say, we generated a lot of amazing ideas today. I know everyone's exhausted, so let's call it a day. Your boss just gave you permission to end working at 3:30, even though your scheduled day ends at 5. And that's why this is an amazing expression, to call it a day. This next expression will help you sound very natural to keep someone in the loop. This is when you keep someone informed about something specific, or you include someone in communication. This is commonly used in email, and you'll see someone write, please keep me in the loop. If your boss sends you an email and says, please keep me in the loop, it means that your boss wants you to inform them about whatever that specific topic is. So perhaps it's, please keep me in the loop on the status of the report. Notice we use the preposition on and then the something, on the status of the report. We also use this to inform someone that we will share information with them. For example, I'm having a touch base with the client today. Notice a touch base as the noun. I'm having a touch base with the client today about the marketing proposal. I'll keep you in the loop. So I'm volunteering to keep you informed. So when I have more information about the marketing proposal, I will share it with you. Let's talk about how to use to bring someone up to speed. A very important expression. When you bring someone up to speed, it means you inform that person about recent updates or developments. So let's say someone was sick and they were off work for 2 days. So that person's knowledge is 2 days old. They don't know what has happened for the last 2 days. So when they get back to work after they recover, they might ask you to bring them up to speed. I was off sick for 2 days. Can you bring me up to speed? To do that, you will give that person all the information, updates, developments from the last 2 days specifically, so their knowledge is at the same level as everyone else. And after you update that person, they can say, thanks for bringing me up to speed. Let's talk about the phrasal verb to follow up. And you follow up with someone on something. This is when you continue communication after an initial conversation. For example, I sent the client the proposal last week, but I haven't heard back. I'll follow up today. So you had an initial conversation with that client about the proposal. This happened last week. So now you can follow up with that client on the marketing proposal. You can have another conversation in order to continue discussing what you previously discussed, the marketing proposal. So the client gets your follow-up message. There, I just used it as a noun. Remember, native speakers love doing that, a follow-up message. So the client gets your follow-up message and could say, thanks for following up. Let's touch base on this tomorrow. Let's touch base. So the verb form, to touch base. Let's touch base on this, the marketing proposal, tomorrow. Now you are going to sound very advanced, very fluent, very natural, and very professional at your next business meeting. But I'm going to quiz you to make sure you really know all of these expressions and can use them in your speech. So here are the questions. Hit pause, take as much time as you need, and when you're ready to see the answers, hit play. So how'd you do with that quiz? Well, let's find out. Here are the answers. Hit pause, take as much time as you need to review them, and when you're ready to continue, hit play. You have already learned so much. Let's keep going and you'll learn 22 more business English expressions. And there's a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Our first idiom, to see eye to eye. To see eye to eye. This means that you agree with someone or that there is agreement. You could say, it's important that the team sees eye to eye on the project's objectives. You can commonly use this in the negative to say, we didn't see eye to eye on the project objectives, which means you didn't agree.
We don't see eye to eye.
Our next idiom is very similar. It's to be on the same page. This is when you have a shared understanding or agreement. So to see eye to eye is always with agreement, but to be on the same page is when you have the same understanding. So similar, but slightly different. For example, we need to be on the same page regarding the timeline for the project. We commonly use this with get. We need to get the team on the same page. So this sounds like right now the team isn't on the same page, and get is used for that transition. So we need to get the team on the same page. Go from not a general understanding to a general understanding.
We on the same page?
I love this one. To hit the nail on the head. This means that you describe exactly what is causing a problem or a situation. So simply, your description is 100% correct. For example, you really hit the nail on the head with your analysis. Your analysis was 100% correct. You could also use the something as the subject and say your analysis hit the nail on the head. Your analysis was 100% correct. Now don't worry about writing all of these idioms down because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF, so you can look for the link in the description. Our next idiom, to have a lot on one's plate. This likely describes you, it describes everyone.
I have a lot on my plate.
This means you're very busy or you have a lot of tasks to complete. You might say, I can't take on any more projects right now. I already have a lot on my plate. You could also say, I have a lot on my plate with the conference. So you could specify a specific task and then say you have many individual tasks for that one item, the conference. You have many different things to do. I have a lot on my plate with the conference. To get the hang of, this will make you sound very natural. This is when you become skilled with or familiar with something. You could say, it took a while, but I finally got the hang of the new software. So now you're familiar with the software. You're skilled at using the software. Or you could say, using idioms was tricky at first, but I got the hang of them. And hopefully my videos are helping you do that. So put in the comments, I got the hang of idioms. I got the hang of idioms. Because I'm sure you'll get the hang of them very quickly. Next, to cut corners. This is a negative one. When you cut corners, it means you do something in the quickest or the easiest way possible, but you sacrifice quality. Now, hopefully your company says we can't afford to cut corners with our safety measures. And that means your company is going to do things properly, even if it takes longer, even if it's more expensive, because they're not willing to sacrifice quality. And if your company doesn't say that, they'll get a bad reputation, and someone might say, don't use that company, they cut corners, which is not a positive thing.
You can't cut corners in life.
A ballpark figure. This is a sports reference, but it's extremely common in business. You need to know this one. A ballpark figure is an approximation or a rough estimate. So someone might ask, can you give me a ballpark figure for the budget of the project? They're asking you for an estimate. So not a specific number, just an estimate. The person could reply and say, we don't have the budget yet, but if I had to ballpark it, if I had to give you a ballpark figure, if I had to ballpark it, that's what a native speaker would say. If I had to ballpark it, I'd say $100,000. So that's my estimate of the budget, but it's not the exact number. It's just a ballpark figure.
Take a guess, ballpark figure.
Our next one, maybe you know this, to be in the same boat. Have you heard this one? This is when you're in the same difficult situation as someone else. We're in the same boat when it comes to global warming. We're all in the same situation. It doesn't matter if it happens in India or Africa or New York, it affects us all. We're all in the same boat.
I'm in the same boat.
Back to the drawing board. This one is frequently used. This is when you have to start a task or project again because your previous attempt failed. For example, the marketing campaign didn't work as expected, so it's back to the drawing board. To pull strings. Ooh, I love this one. This is when you use your influence to manipulate or control a situation. For example, she managed to pull some strings and get the project approved. So this sounds like the project wasn't approved, but she had influence. Maybe she knew someone on the board that was approving the project. So she used her relationship with that person to get the project approved. She pulled some strings to get the project approved. Someone might ask you, how did you get VIP tickets to Taylor Swift? And you can reply back and say, I pulled some strings. I pulled some strings. Our next idiom, to cross one's fingers. This is used to hope for good luck or a positive outcome. For example, I'm crossing my fingers that the client likes our proposal. And notice that I'm doing the gesture. We commonly do the gesture in North America when we use this expression. We also use this as a reply to say, I hope so. So someone might say, you'll do a great job on the presentation. And you can simply say, fingers crossed, but it's very common to do the gesture. Does this gesture exist in your culture? Let us know in the comments. Say, yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. I'm really curious to know. Fingers crossed. How about this idiom, to be on the ball? Do you know this one? This means that you're alert and quick to understand or respond. So this is a positive one. Your boss might say, our team needs to be on the ball to meet the tight deadline. So the team needs to be very quick, very alert. They need to be on the ball. Our next idiom, to throw in the towel. I hope you never do this. This means to give up or surrender. So if you say, English idioms are so confusing, I'm throwing in the towel, it means you're closing this video, you're unsubscribing from my channel, and you're quitting. So please don't throw in the towel.
She's throwing in the towel.
So put in the comments, I won't throw in the towel, I won't throw in the towel, because sometimes it might seem difficult, but keep at it. I know you'll get the hang of it. Number 14, to have one's hands tied. This means you're unable to take action because of external circumstances. So maybe you ask your boss for an extra day of vacation and your boss says, I'd like to help, but my hands are tied due to company policy. So the external situation or circumstance is the company policy. It forbids additional vacation days. So your boss can't do anything. Your boss's hands are tied. So to deliver bad news, a native speaker will commonly say, sorry, my hands are tied.
My hands are tied.
Next, to burn the midnight oil, something I never do. This is when you work late into the night. For example, we had to burn the midnight oil in order to meet the deadline. So I said this is something I never do, and that's because I believe that I'm more productive if I sleep for 8 hours. So I would rather sleep for 8 hours and then the next day I'll be very productive. If I burn the midnight oil, I'm going to waste an entire day because I'm not going to be productive. That's just my personal opinion. Next, to throw someone under the bus. Oh, this is a good one. This is when you blame someone else or sacrifice someone for personal gain or to avoid being blamed. So let's say two coworkers worked on a project together, but then one coworker publicly said the other coworker is the reason why the project failed, even though they made all decisions together. That coworker is going to be upset, and they can say, I can't believe she threw me under the bus at the meeting.
Sheldon threw us all under the bus.
Number 17, to be on thin ice. This is when you're in a risky or dangerous situation. So let's say your boss says to you, this is the third time you're late. You're on thin ice. That's not a good position to be because it means that you're in a risky or dangerous situation. In this case, you're at risk of losing your job. You're on thin ice. So management will say this to you to let you know that you're in trouble.
You're on thin ice.
Next, to hit a snag. This probably happens to people every single day. This is when you encounter unexpected problems, challenges, or difficulties. So let's say you're about to launch a new product and everything is going perfectly, but then we hit a snag when the supplier couldn't deliver the materials on time. But don't throw in the towel because I'm sure you can work through it. Number 19, to keep one's eyes peeled. This is when you stay alert and watchful for something specific. Your coworker could say, keep your eyes peeled for any updates on the project deadline. So your coworker is telling you to watch carefully for those updates.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Number 20, one that your boss is going to love, to cut a deal. This is when you reach an agreement. So an agreement is a positive thing. Your boss will be happy. But this usually happens after a period of negotiation. You could say, it took us a while, but we finally cut a deal.
Cut a new deal.
Number 21, to be up in the air. This is when things are uncertain, undecided, or unresolved. For example, the conference is up in the air. So it's uncertain if you're even going to have a conference or the status of it, the planning of it. Everything is uncertain, undecided, unresolved. It's up in the air. Or you could say, our plans are up in the air. Nothing has been decided.
That's up in the air.
And finally, number 22, in the works. In the works. This means in progress, so currently being developed or finalized. The conference is in the works. We're working on it. We're developing it. We're finalizing it. Our plans are in the works. So they're not up in the air anymore. They're in the works. You have already filled your vocabulary with so many words, so now let's add some more advanced words to your vocabulary. You'll replace common words with advanced alternatives. Our first common word, let's review these in examples. Your car is fast compared to mine. Instead of fast, you can say rapid. The service was rapid during lunch hour. The service was fast. Or the response from customer support was speedy, speedy. You can also say he took a brisk walk, brisk, brisk. He took a brisk walk to clear his mind. Now, brisk is used for actions involving energy and speed, such as walking or weather, but not objects like cars or processes. Here's a sentence hopefully you'll agree with. I'm making rapid progress or speedy progress with my English fluency. Do you agree? Put let's go, put let's go in the comments.
The rapid change in pressure and temperature produces huge amounts of steam.
Visitors can ride one of Europe's fastest elevators and take a speedy climb to some of the best views in Berlin.
Interactions that could be seen as pleasantly brisk and convenient in some cultures could be seen as horribly rude in others.
And don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Our next common word, the internet is too slow to load videos. Instead of slow, you could say the traffic was sluggish, sluggish. How fast does a slug move? Not fast at all, sluggish. Traffic was sluggish during rush hour. Or you can say, I felt sluggish after a heavy lunch. Now, sluggish is used to mean less power or less energy. You could also say they took a leisurely stroll by the lake. Now, stroll is another word for walk. Leisurely, this sounds positive. So traffic is slow. That's negative. But we took a leisurely walk. This sounds positive because it means slow and relaxed on purpose. You can say progress on the project was gradual but steady. Gradual also sounds positive, whereas slow sounds negative. So gradual means slow but steady. Gradual.
Get sluggish. Let your body just eat the fat that you've stored up just the way you should. Hibernate a little bit.
Around 500 million years ago, an ancient fish was out for a leisurely swim.
Our next word, it was quiet, quiet in the library. You can say the room was silent after the shocking announcement. You could say the spa has a serene atmosphere. Serene sounds positive. It means peaceful and calm. Oh, that spa is so serene. You can say the baby's room was hushed, shh, hushed, so she could sleep. Now, if something is hushed, just like when you say shh, it means deliberately muted. So any noise from people, music, outside, so you close the window, the room was hushed.
We must be participants of change, not silent observers.
This exhibit features playful river otters in a serene environment that is a combination of land and water habitats.
Even toddlers will love this hands-on museum where they are never hushed.
What's the opposite of silent? Our next word, the traffic is too loud for a meeting. Instead, you can say, the thunder was deafening, so loud I cannot hear, deafening during the storm. Or how about the applause was booming after the performance? Now, deafening and booming both mean extremely loud. Sometimes this can be positive, like an applause. You want applause to be extremely loud. How about this one? Her piercing scream startled everyone. Now, piercing is used for very high-pitched or sharp sounds, and they get your attention.
Right now, students around the world are screaming for change in the piercing voice of despair.
Ah, crickets. The deafening silence that occurs when someone doesn't respond to our email, phone call, or text, or in some way fails to acknowledge that we exist.
Our next common word is too hot to sit outside. Instead of hot, you can say the sand was scorching. Do you know this one? Scorching. Or the sun was blazing at midday. You can say she finished the race despite the sweltering heat. Now, all of these mean extremely hot, but sweltering specifically means uncomfortably hot. It is an extreme temperature.
Now, India is a country infamous for its scorching heat and humidity.
Everything's smoking, blazing, quickly moving, steam's going in your face, everything's smelling super good. And that's the beauty of wok cooking.
It's another sweltering night here in the swamps of Texas.
And the opposite of hot? It's too cold in this room. You can say the wind was chilly during the evening walk, the leisurely evening walk or stroll, or the lake felt icy or freezing when I dipped my hand in. The frigid air froze the pipes overnight. Now, these adjectives are listed from least extreme, so least cold, to most extreme, most cold.
A little chilly out here, isn't it? Or at night.
Surrounded by the swirling currents and freezing water of San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz was believed to be inescapable.
Holding his breath under dark, frigid water.
Our next common word, she was angry about the mistake. The boss seemed irritated during the meeting. You don't want that. He was furious when his flight was canceled. Maybe you've experienced that. Or she became enraged when her suitcase was lost. Again, these are listed from least extreme, so least angry, to most extreme. Enraged means extremely angry.
You know, sometimes I get irritated, annoyed, and wonder, what the heck? What are you doing? Why are you driving like that?
He was really furious at Hostetter, as he was, by the way, at Minsky.
Torvald finally reads the letter from Krogstad, and he is enraged.
Let's talk about hungry. Of course, you can say, I'm hungry. Let's get lunch. Now, you can say, I'm a little peckish, or just I'm peckish. Let's have a snack. You can say, after hiking all day, I was famished. Or he felt ravenous after skipping breakfast. Again, least extreme, peckish only means slightly hungry, to most extreme. Ravenous means extremely hungry.
We can whip up a sandwich if we're feeling peckish, but we have to consume proteins and sugars and other essential molecules made by something else.
The ravenous swarm stretches as far as the eye can see.
Let's talk about tired. I was so tired after the long flight. You can use weary. We were weary after the 10-hour flight. He felt drained from back-to-back meetings. Drained. Or you can say she was exhausted. I'm sure you know this one, but how frequently do you use it? She was exhausted after the marathon.
I really believe, but it is a weary game.
And then as Kyle's strength drained away, he sensed the end was coming.
On the one hand, if they do so, they'll be exhausted. They'll suffer from burnout.
Let's talk about stupid. Of course, you can describe someone as stupid, which is quite a rude thing to say, not very polite, but we often use this adjective with ourselves. I made a stupid mistake. Have you ever said that? I made a stupid mistake in front of my boss. Oh no. Well, instead of stupid, you can say dumb. Oh, that was dumb of me. That was stupid of me. You probably know that one. How about foolish? It's foolish, not very smart. So stupid or dumb, not very smart. It's foolish to leave your car unlocked. Would you agree with that? So saying something is foolish sounds slightly less rude than saying that's dumb when you're saying it to another person. Or if you even want to sound more polite, you can say, he made a silly mistake by wearing mismatched socks. So we use silly when something is more lighthearted, not very serious, and is not as harsh of the others. So if you want to say this to someone, if you say, that was dumb of you, that was stupid of you, that sounds quite harsh, quite rude. But if you say, that was foolish of you, or that was silly of you, that sounds less harsh.
How can you be smart and have this dumb idea at the same time? This was nuts.
Without fear, we'll do foolish things.
I also do silly things like I have a reggae air horn.
Let's talk about rich. He's rich enough to afford a yacht. Notice that pronunciation, yacht, yacht. You can use wealthy. Warren Buffett is extremely wealthy, so you can still modify this to make it stronger. Extremely wealthy. You can say his wife's family is loaded, loaded. This is a casual way of saying extremely wealthy, but native speakers use this a lot. He's loaded, she's loaded, they're loaded. To sound more formal or professional, you can use affluent or prosperous. They live in an affluent or prosperous neighborhood. You can use these to describe people, but they are more commonly used to describe communities, countries, businesses.
Many wealthy countries have adopted a carbon tax that makes consuming carbon fuels more costly, encouraging households to adopt carbon-neutral energies.
Many neighborhoods will be redeveloped as affluent housing, while thousands of residents will be forcibly pushed out of their homes and into affordable housing outside the city.
The city dates back to medieval times and was already prosperous by the 13th century, when a dam was built to separate the Rot from the Nieuwe Maas.
And the opposite of rich, hopefully you don't need to use this. He's too poor to afford a yacht. You can say we're raising money for disadvantaged children. Notice that pronunciation, disadvantaged. So children who don't have the advantages that wealthy families have, disadvantaged children. The community became impoverished after the hurricane. The organization helps destitute individuals find housing. So these are people in the most need, destitute.
Disparities. It exposes, that they're not taking care of certain, minority groups or disadvantaged groups. So there's a lot of political impediments, but there's spectacular examples of the opposite.
They want to impoverish all of humanity today to solve a putative problem in the future.
There's some desperate poverty out there, and it's not just an anomaly. It's half of humanity struggling to make it work.
Let's move on to clean. Your kitchen is so clean. You can say the hotel room was spotless, extremely clean. You can say the lab must remain pristine, or your white countertops look immaculate, not an imperfection or a spot or a mark, immaculate.
There's no spotless leaders. I mean, none of us in here are morally unstained characters in life's grand story.
Even so, given this risk, it is a pristine find.
He's also committed to the idea of an immaculate empire.
And the opposite, my kitchen is so dirty. The hotel room was filthy when we arrived, extremely dirty, filthy. The windows became grimy after the storm. His unkempt, repeat after me, unkempt, unkempt, disheveled, disheveled. His unkempt or disheveled appearance surprised everyone. So if I started this video and my hair was super messy and my shirt had stains on it and maybe my lipstick was smeared, you might say, Jennifer, you look unkempt, or Jennifer, you look disheveled. So this is used with personal appearance, and it means poorly maintained or neglected. I neglected to brush my hair and fix my shirt before recording this video.
Crowded tenements, filthy streets, and unsanitary conditions all around contributed to an annual death rate of 1 out of every 36 residents, according to the Living City Archive.
The kitchen area is dirty and grimy.
Why was he unshaved with unkempt hair and torn jeans and paint all over his clothes? Should someone call the police?
Our next word, boring. I'm sure you've used this one. The lecture was boring. Hopefully you're not thinking that right now with this lesson. Or you can say the movie was dull, dry, or slow. All of these are synonyms to boring. You can say filling out forms is always tedious. We use this with tasks that are boring. Or you can say this job is so mundane, monotonous. So these mean routine, not changing. So the same task over and over again every single day. And because it's routine and not changing, it's therefore boring.
I know all of this may seem tedious or boring.
I was finding ways to motivate myself when things kind of got a little bored or mundane.
An audiobook? It gets astoundingly monotonous.
First of all, just know there's nothing wrong with using simple words. You can and should use these words in your daily speech. The goal of this lesson is just to give you alternatives. Learning these alternatives will also help you improve your comprehension when natives use these words. Now let's start with a word that I'm guilty of overusing. And just remember that native speakers are guilty of overusing these words as well. Our first word, our vacation was amazing. I'm sure you know the word amazing, and you might think, well, this is a replacement to a common word. It's a replacement to good, very good, or great. And that's true, but this replacement word, amazing, has become overused. And I say I'm guilty of it because there are 30 or more common alternatives. So why just use the same word over and over again when 30 or more alternatives exist? So let's review the most common. The concert was simply incredible. So here the alternative word is incredible. Incredible. Now you can modify this to make it sound stronger and say simply incredible. My English progress in just 1 month is astonishing. Astonishing. Now, hopefully that's something you are thinking right now, and hopefully my lessons play a role in helping you get astonishing results, amazing results, astonishing results. If you think so, then put that's right, put that's right in the comments. We also use amazing to describe scenery or buildings or situations even. For example, the sunset was breathtaking, to use a replacement to amazing. Now don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description.
We're bringing incredible talent and tools.
The story of the Lake Peigneur drilling accident is an astonishing record.
It was initially constructed in 1436, but the astonishing front facade wasn't completed until the 19th century.
Our next common word, the restaurant, was nice. Nice, this is a positive adjective. It's a feeling of general satisfaction. Of course, you can use it to describe people, things, or experiences. For example, you can say, what a pleasant day What a pleasant day. So this is something you can use every single day. Or you can say the receptionist at the hotel was lovely instead of describing him or her as nice, was lovely. Now that is a person. You can also describe an experience or a specific object. Our stay at the hotel was delightful, delightful. We had an enjoyable time at the park.
It's been a pleasant surprise to be involved in this kind of thing.
And this really does have a lovely sauce to it, even though we put cream cheese in it.
Now, sleeping is delightful.
Here's a common word you probably use every day. The exam was easy, easy. You can say, I studied for weeks, so the exam was a piece of cake. I find that most students know this idiom to be a piece of cake. The exam was a piece of cake. Or hopefully you're thinking right now, Jennifer makes learning English easy peasy. So you just add the word peasy here, easy peasy. It sounds very fun, very casual, very lighthearted. So if you agree that Jennifer makes learning English easy peasy, put that's right in the comments. Or you could say, you make speaking in public look effortless, look easy, look effortless. Now you could say the instructions were easy to follow or easy to understand. So you can replace easy to follow with the instructions were straightforward and or clear. So you can use both or you can just use one.
If it would work, we know it would work. Piece of cake, I think most people would get behind it.
It's effortless. We just do it without really thinking about it.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Now, what's the opposite of easy? The exam was hard. You can say, I didn't study, so the exam was challenging. The exam was difficult. Or you could say, we thought the hike was going to be a piece of cake or easy peasy, but it was strenuous, strenuous. It was arduous, arduous. Both strenuous and arduous mean requiring much effort or energy, so they're generally used with physical tasks. You can also say, I had a tough day, instead of saying I had a hard day.
The cosmetics were challenging.
It's going to be difficult to get them to pay.
Because of this, couples avoid tough conversations about money before getting married.
How about this easy word? The traffic downtown is always bad. Instead of bad, you can say the traffic this morning was dreadful, dreadful. Or I had a terrible headache last night instead of bad headache. The food on the plane was appalling, appalling. This is more severe than bad. It means very bad. So often these alternatives can replace very or so plus the common adjective.
You know, they're just so earnest and dreadful.
I asked my son, who is by the far terrible athlete, gets it from his dad.
I wouldn't crave it, but it's not terrible.
How about this common one? She's a happy person. I think this describes me overall. Instead, you can say she's a joyful person. She's a cheerful person. You can say he was elated, elated after hearing the good news. She felt ecstatic, ecstatic when she got the job.
It was so good, and I brought the joyful grains.
I know that others felt devastated or elated.
But I didn't care. I was jumping up for joy. I was ecstatic. I was happy.
Our next common word, that was a smart question. Instead of smart, you can say that was a clever question. That was a brilliant question. Brilliant sounds like very smart. Or you can say he's extremely intelligent. He's extremely bright. You don't have to use the modifier extremely is just an option. Just like you could say he's extremely smart or just he's smart. He gave an astute astute. He gave an astute analysis of the market. That is an excellent word to use in a more professional or academic environment. You can say his ingenious. His ingenious method solved the issue quickly.
There are more clever ways to prove bounds on the COP number.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very astute observation.
Well, local officials came up with a brilliant plan.
Here's a common one that native speakers overuse. The documentary was interesting. Instead of interesting, you can say, the history of ancient Egypt is fascinating. Or the speaker gave an intriguing presentation. His captivating performance held the audience's attention. Captivating. These are great alternatives because interesting can sometimes mean negative, but the three alternatives I gave you are always used in a positive way.
But I just think it's a fascinating idea.
I think it's so captivating to see this couple in this really intense night of their lives.
I find the definition of compassion is a fascinating one, and it's not one that I hear people talk about.
Our next common word, thanks for the beautiful flowers. Again, there is nothing wrong with saying beautiful, but there are so many beautiful alternatives, like the word gorgeous. Her garden is gorgeous. The colors of the leaves in fall are stunning. Or the flower vase is exquisite. Now notice I said vase. Both pronunciations, vase, which rhymes with face, and vase, which has an ah but a z sound, both are used in American English, which is interesting because vase is the American pronunciation and vase is the British pronunciation. And generally in American English, we don't adopt British pronunciation, but for this specific word, vase or vase, both are commonly used in North America.
There are kind, loving men looking for a gorgeous woman like you.
Deep sea corals actually come in a stunning array of brilliant color.
Cahal was in awe of its exquisite detail, both as a scientist and an artist.
Our next common word, I have an important meeting this afternoon. How many times do you describe something as important? I know I sure use it a lot. Instead, you can say the meeting is crucial. Or this is a significant opportunity for our company. You can say it's vital, or it's essential to get enough rest before the exam.
But their influence is crucial in the development of their children.
Now, the site is a work in progress, but it's significant progress because it's designed with the users who matter most.
Having these vital money talks before getting married will prepare you to have them during marriage from a place of honesty and understanding.
Our next common word, the movie was funny. Instead of funny, you can say the comedian is hilarious. This sounds like very funny. Or her reaction was humorous. Her reaction was comical. Instead of saying you're very funny, you can say you're very witty. Keep in mind though that this means funny in a clever way. So it does have a slightly different meaning from funny, but it's a great alternative to know.
Made-up nonsense gibberish is frequently hilarious.
He's very keen on, his work is very humorous anyway.
He was a very witty, very wise man.
How about this common word? I made a big mistake rejecting the job offer. You can say it was a substantial mistake, but we can fix it. Or this is an enormous, that sounds like very big, enormous project. You can use enormous to describe objects. You can also use massive. Elephants are massive. Elephants are massive. Elephants are enormous.
We've come to a very substantial phase 1 deal.
All these things are areas where we've made an enormous investment, and there have been significant payoffs.
These are massive machines.
And what's the opposite of big? It was a small mistake. A small mistake. Let's review some common alternatives. Don't be mad. It's a tiny mistake. We can fix it. Tiny is very small. So if you want to minimize the importance of a mistake, you can say it was a tiny mistake. Here's a great one. I made some minor changes to the report. Minor changes. Or you could describe an object and say only compact cars can park here. It's an alternative to saying small cars. Only compact cars can park here. With money or resources, you can say we invested a modest amount of money.
Soil is mostly made of little tiny rocks. Its texture depends on the size of those rocks.
In between all these minor changes, wash your hands, wear a mask, get a vaccine, you know the drill.
So although the findings were pretty modest, the WHO thinks this one's worth a shot.
Here's one that might apply to you. Many students are scared of speaking English in public. You can say, she became terrified. Terrified. That sounds like very scared. She became terrified when she found out she had to give a presentation. Or the noise frightened the kids. Frightened instead of scared. Now, to say extremely scared, you can use the word petrified. I'm petrified of spiders.
We are terrified of being wrong.
What are you frightened of ever losing?
My engagement ring.
I was absolutely petrified of this man.
Let's review this common word. It was brave of you to agree to give the presentation in front of 2,000 people. Even though you were petrified, it was brave of you. You can say she made the bold decision to move abroad. It's brave, it's bold. She made the bold decision. Or it was courageous. It takes a lot of courage. It was courageous of you to quit your job.
For the first time in my life, I understood how courageous she is.
So we were so proud of him because he was so courageous, so visionary.
Now, that's a pretty bold statement.
Now let's do something different. We'll read a business news article together, and as we read this article, you'll learn 58 advanced words and phrases. Let's review the headline: Why personal health and wellness are key to business longevity. Do you know what key means in this context? Key means important, critical, or crucial. Now this functions as an adjective. Notice you have the verb to be, which is plural because there are two things, health, wellness. But key doesn't have an S because it functions as an adjective. It would be the same if you replaced it with are, important, critical, or crucial. So still you conjugate your verb to be, singular or plural, but your adjective does not take an S. Now let's talk about longevity. Notice that pronunciation, longe, j. It has a j sound. Longevity, longevity, longevity. This means lasting for a long time. So it means for the business to last for a long time, so to exist. Now, if the word business were not there, this could also be correct, and it would mean your ability to last, to live for a long time. Because of course, health and wellness are key to longevity for us to live for a long time. So you can attach this to something specific like a business or a company or even a product, but without something specific, one would assume that it's a person's longevity. Don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's continue on. Here, notice it says key takeaways. We know what key means, right? It's important, critical, or crucial. Key. But what about this word, takeaways? Do you know what that means? Takeaways means points, lessons, or just information. This is very commonly used in a business context. You might start a presentation or a call or a meeting by saying, here are the key takeaways from the conference, and then you would list the most important points or what you learned. Instead of key, it's very common to use main, specifically with takeaways. Here are the main takeaways from the conference. Now, if there were only one piece of information or one lesson, then you would use takeaway in the singular. So it's singular or plural. You could say, my main takeaway from the conference is, and then you would say what you learned or what you remember. So maybe your main takeaway, what you remember or what you learned that was the most important, is the importance of health for business longevity. So this article was very long. We'll review the key takeaways, the most important points. And notice here you have the actual points because they're just listing them as points. So in a meeting, you could verbalize this as first or the first thing or point one, takeaway one. Business leaders who prioritize their personal health and wellness are better equipped to handle their responsibilities and inspire their management teams and employees. Let's review prioritize. This is a verb, to prioritize, prioritize. Now, you may be comfortable with seeing priority as a noun. And if you use priority as a noun, you need make as your verb. You make something a priority. So in this case, it would be business leaders who make personal health and wellness a priority are better equipped. So you would slightly change the sentence structure because you need make something a priority. But in this case, you prioritize something. So the sentence structure is a little different. Let's practice this as a verb. As a verb, you conjugate it according to your time reference. So you could say right now. Right now, I'm prioritizing. It's in progress, so it's the present continuous. I'm prioritizing learning what? Because remember, you prioritize something. I'm prioritizing learning phrasal verbs. I'm prioritizing improving my pronunciation or my grammar. So what about you? Try this. Put this example sentence in the comments to practice this expression and let us know what you're prioritizing so I can make a lesson on it in the future. Let's review equipped. Notice here the sentence structure is to be equipped. You can add a modifier like better, but the structure is to be, and then equipped functions as your adjective. Notice that pronunciation, that ed is a soft T, equipped. Now, when you say it in a sentence, especially here, because my next sound is a to, I won't even really pronounce this because my next sound is a T. So I would say personal health and wellness are better equipped to handle. So I don't even pronounce it. So just be cautious of that to make sure you understand it and understand that ED. Now, synonyms, you could say prepared, able, ready, and then you use the infinitive, to handle. Capable is a very common synonym, but notice with capable, the sentence structure is different because you need of and then your gerund. So you would use are better capable of handling their responsibilities. And instead of handle, you could use manage, deal with, or address as synonyms. Now, remember, if you're using capable, you need to use the gerund form. Are better equipped to handle their responsibilities and inspire their management teams and employees. Let's review our next key point, our next takeaway. Overexertion whether it's physical or mental, can lead to burnout. Okay, first let's talk about overexertion. First, let's look at the pronunciation, because notice you have X, but that's not how it's pronounced. It's pronounced as exertion, 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 exertion. And then you just add over in front of it. Overexertion, overexertion. So exertion is the use of mental or physical effort. When we add over in front of a word, a verb, it means too much. So in this case, it's too much mental or physical effort. Now, this over in front of a verb is very commonly used. You could just say, I slept until 8 a.m. That's just a statement. I don't know if this is good or bad. If you say, I overslept, then it means it was bad. You slept too much. So that's what it means. It means you had too much of the verb. In this case, the verb is sleep. So you can eat or you can overeat, which is negative. Overwork, overdo something. This is general when you don't want to necessarily specify the verb and you want to be general. You can just use overdo and then you overdo something. So you might say to me, Jennifer, I am so excited to learn English. I am going to study for 12 hours a day. And I might reply back and simply say, don't overdo it. So don't overstudy. Don't overdo it. Or if your friend tells you they're going to go to the gym 5 days a week for 4 hours every day, you might say, whoa, don't overdo it. Don't overwork. Don't overdo it. So let's review this again. Overexertion, too much physical or mental effort in a negative way. Overexertion, whether it's physical or mental. So here, notice the definition is mental or physical. So they're including both of them in this term. Physical exertion or mental exertion can lead to burnout. Burnout is a state of extreme exhaustion where you can no longer function. Can lead to burnout that will negatively impact your leadership, effectiveness, and the organization's overall performance. Notice here they added negatively because impact is neutral. You can have a positive impact and a negative impact. If it sounds like it's obvious, generally native speakers won't specify the negative or positive, but if they want to be very clear, they'll specify it here. Using the opposite, positively, you might say adequate sleep. In this case, it's the subject of the sentence, adequate sleep. Adequate means enough. Adequate sleep can positively impact your studies. Let's move on to our next point, our next takeaway. Leaders who model good health and wellness practices contribute to a healthier work environment. So if the leader models something, it means they display it because they do the activities themselves. So if the leader is drinking a lot of water, other people might see that and say, oh, I should drink more water because, of course, hydration is part of your overall health and wellness. So that could be an example of how you would model health and wellness practices. Some synonyms for model are demonstrate, exhibit, exhibit. Notice that z, exhibit, exemplify, z, exemplify, and show. And remember here, this is your verb, contribute. It's being conjugated with the subject, which is leaders. So when you have additional information like this, sometimes it can confuse students, even native speakers. Here, this is also plural, but if this were singular, it does not matter because the subject is leaders. That is what your verb is being conjugated with. Leaders contribute. Leaders who model good health and wellness practices contribute to a healthier work environment. Boosting, this is another word for increasing, boosting, increasing staff retention and company resilience. Do you know what staff retention means? Retention is the noun form. The verb form is retain. You may be familiar with this because you want to retain vocabulary. So you learn it, but then you have to retain it, any information, which means keep it so you can use it in the future. So staff retention, staff meaning employees. Notice staff is a collective noun. So staff retention is your ability to keep, retain staff, employees, people, so they don't quit. They don't go to other companies because they don't like working for your company. So coming back to our previous vocabulary, so you can retain it, the key takeaway was the importance of staff retention. Maybe the key takeaway of the conference was on how to improve your business performance. And one of the most important points was staff retention, keeping people, employees, staff in your business. Now, you always have to ask yourself, how is the word being used and what are the grammatical rules? Because here, if you were to replace staff with employee, you would not add an S because they function as adjectives. They describe what type of retention. Staff retention, employee retention. But if you were to use them as nouns, so I'll put this in parentheses, nouns, retain is your verb, keep is your verb, you conjugate that, but then staff is always a collective noun, but employees is a regular noun. So it takes a singular plural form. So you would talk about keeping or retaining employees because there's more than one, but staff is a collective, so no S. Our next takeaway, new data released by Babbel in 2024. So now here they're going to explain what Babbel is because it's not common knowledge. I didn't know what Babbel was before this article. So Babbel, it's a survey of 500 business leaders in the UK. Now, because this information is between these dashes, you can delete what I have highlighted and the sentence must be grammatically correct. So often if you want to include this additional information either between dashes or between commas, write it first without and then add it in just to make sure your sentence is grammatically correct without it. So new data released by Babbel in 2024 showed that 76% of business leaders wanted to strengthen their own physical, mental, and ethical fitness in order to succeed. Instead of using strengthen, you could use improve, to boost, because strengthen is the verb form, to strengthen. Their own physical, mental, and ethical fitness. Ethical fitness would be their ability to act ethically or make ethical decisions, either one of those. And why are they doing this? In order to succeed. Now, native speakers commonly delete the two words in order, so you just see to succeed, and you might think that this is simply the infinitive. However, depending on the sentence structure, you have to understand that it isn't the infinitive, it's in order to. And I say that because it's very common to begin a sentence with to succeed, to do something. But this isn't the infinitive because that's not grammatical in English. We don't start sentences with the infinitive. So this means in order to succeed, but it's very common to just use the to succeed and leave out in order. This is done in both spoken and written English in a casual and professional context. To succeed, leaders need to boost their ethical fitness. So remember, this means the ability to act ethically. Again, you need to think about how this word is being used. In this case, it's an adverb because it modifies the verb act. To act ethically. In this case, ethical is an adjective and it describes what type of fitness, ethical fitness. Let's move on to our next key point, an overexhausted. Okay, so now you understand what overexhausted, because we're adding over. In this case, exhausted is an adjective. Exhausted. I'm exhausted. And we know this is going to be an, so we need a noun. An overexhausted leader. So it would be a leader, but because this is a vowel sound, you have to change your article to an instead of a. A leader, an overexhausted leader. So of course, exhausted already means extremely tired. So adding over really strengthens that. It emphasizes that. Sleep deprived. Deprived means not enough sleep, but this is prolonged. For example, you would say, I didn't sleep well last night, or I had a terrible sleep last night. You can replace this with, I had an amazing sleep last night, or I slept amazingly last night. So you can turn these positive. Now, if this takes place for weeks, I didn't sleep well last night, and you say this every night for weeks, then you could describe yourself as sleep deprived. I'm sleep deprived. I'm so sleep deprived. I need to solve this problem. An overexhausted, sleep-deprived leader is also more likely to be a less effective negotiator. So in this case, a negotiator, this is a person who negotiates. The verb is to negotiate. Less capable of, remember we talked about capable as a replacement to equipped. And when you use equipped or ready, able, you need the infinitive. Capable of. Now, capable of something, empathy is a something, it's a noun. You could also use the gerund verb, capable of expressing empathy. That could be a verb that goes with the noun empathy. Less capable of empathy and understanding different points, viewpoints, and is not able to drive innovation and change within the company. Notice here, so also able, that was a replacement to capable or equipped, is not equipped, is not able to drive. To drive innovation means to cause it to happen. To drive change means to cause it to happen. So to drive something is very much a business verb. Synonyms are inspire, encourage, or facilitate, which is very much a professional or academic verb, to facilitate innovation, to cause it to happen. Our next point, a company culture that focuses on overall health and wellness will eventually increase staff retention. So increase their ability to keep staff. Because remember, staff retention is the concept, the noun form of the verb to keep, to retain staff. So to increase staff retention, which ultimately contributes to the longevity of the business. Let's talk about a company culture. So this represents the values, beliefs, and practices that shape how employees interact and work within an organization. It's the same concept of a culture within a community or a family, but in this case, it's within the company. And often it's management that really shapes the company culture. So you could say Apple as a company has, we use the verb have for possession, and then a company culture, and then you would use an adjective. On the negative side, people use the adjective toxic. Oh, toxic company culture to refer to one that is very bad, toxic. So it's about the worst you could have. And then for positive adjective, you could simply use amazing or any other positive adjective that you know. So I'm not sure if this is what the culture is at Apple because I don't work there, but we have either the negative or the positive. Hopefully you would describe the positive for your company culture, how people interact, how they work, how they behave, their values, their beliefs. All of that would be the company culture. Now let's move on to our final takeaway, our last main point. Health truly is wealth. Have you heard this before? This isn't new to this article, the concept of saying health is wealth. Health is wealth. This is a very common phrase in English, health is wealth. It means that you should prioritize. You should make health a priority because it is the most important thing. It is wealth. Health truly is wealth, especially if you want to be a good business leader. Let's end this article with a positive statement using some of the vocabulary we learned to retain that vocabulary. Health is key. We learned what that means. Health is wealth. We know this is a common saying or proverb. I will prioritize. We learned the verb to prioritize. Here it's in the future simple. I will prioritize because we use the future simple for commitments. I will prioritize my health. I am committed. Or I will make my health a priority because we learned to make something a priority. So choose your favorite one from these and write it in the comments so you retain this vocabulary as well. And now I'll read the article from start to finish so you can focus on my pronunciation because there were some advanced words in this article. Let's do that now. Why personal health and wellness are key to business longevity. Key takeaways. Business leaders who prioritize their personal health and wellness are better equipped to handle the responsibilities and inspire their management teams and employees. Overexertion, whether it's physical or mental, can lead to burnout that will negatively impact your leadership effectiveness and the organization's overall performance. Leaders who model good health and wellness practices contribute to a healthier work environment, boosting staff retention and company resilience. New data released by Babbel in 2024, a survey of 500 business leaders in the UK, showed that 76% of business leaders wanted to strengthen their own physical, mental, and ethical fitness in order to succeed. An overexhausted, sleep-deprived leader is also more likely to be a less effective negotiator, less capable of empathy and understanding different viewpoints, and is not able to drive innovation and change within the company. A company culture that focuses on overall health and wellness will eventually increase staff retention, which ultimately contributes to the longevity of the business. Health truly is wealth, especially if you want to be a good business leader. Amazing job today. Do you want me to make another masterclass just like this? If you do, put masterclass, put masterclass in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep expanding your vocabulary with this lesson right now.